Brazil, I think just to show how big is the problem right now. So Brazil, it's crazy, not about, I don't know if today is the election week over there, but not because of that. It's a 1.2 trillion market transacted on a year basis. This year will finish in 1.5 trillion market, so it's more double-digit growth year on a year for the last 10 years. And the spread that the ordinary customer pays is huge. So if you are a small, medium company or individual, you will pay an effective rate of 300 to 500 bips, right? So, but the providers, the payment providers, okay, let's get rich in Brazil, but it's not. There's a reason for that. Right now, Brazilian regulations are totally incomprehensible, and the excessive bureaucracy, blah, 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 lack of information, the same old problems of the payment market we have there. It's crazy. And for a matter of, let me just show you why. For every transaction, we have 191 types to classify the transaction. For each type of the transaction, there is a combination of taxes that the bank needs to collect on behalf of the client or needs to check if the client has paid the taxes. So this creates a huge amount of pressure on the back end of the bank. And because of the regulation, all the FX transactions need to be cleared by a bank. So this is crazy, right? That's why 80% of the market is in the hands of only 10 banks. And Citibank, it's the biggest one in Brazil, although it's not from Brazil. So our solution was, what we did, I don't know if it's going to change. Okay, so what we did is to streamline all this process so that our clients can do the same transaction in less than 5 minutes from onboarding to the settlement. So we build a system with all the requirements, central bank registration, KYC, AML, pricing, connection in a good partner other side of the world, so that we could deliver a fast, cost-efficient, and transparent for the end user. And of course, we always pay attention to the taxes. I don't know if who was here listening to the regulators in Brazil. Everyone needs to pay the taxes, otherwise you can go to jail. So the main purpose of that is to give a proper real-time feedback for the client. Even if the transaction goes wrong, we have a real-time feedback. That's what the Ripple system is doing right now when we connect with Xrp, and Xrp does the payouts for us. So we think we are contributing for the Brazilian consumer in a way that we are allowing the Brazilian consumers, ordinary ones, to connect with the best global financial services. When we live there, you feel that you are in the hands of local banks that do a terrible job while serving you with financial transactions and credit and everything. So our clients right now can do not only P2P transactions, but investments, pay bills, receive income, and get mortgage from overseas. Our third most client, they invest directly in companies in Europe. That's a good thing to do.
Okay, thanks. I think I actually fell off my chair when he said Brazil market operates at 500 bips, which is like 5%. I think the last time I heard 5% is when my wife charges me daily interest rate when I take money from her, right? Like, who in the world charges 5% to kind of make a transfer? I think one key aspect which we've kind of really focused on is to reduce costs significantly. So World Bank acknowledges Instagram as the lowest cost provider in all the markets we currently function. We're the bad boys in driving remittance costs down. My favorite example is we launched in Europe. A week later, Europe's largest player for a single corridor dropped 20 bips just because we launched, right? And they want to tell me that it's coincidence, but there is no coincidence in that. So one of the ways we are actually able to reduce cost specifically is we do direct connectivity with local payment systems. In a lot of markets, we are institutions where we don't even require a bank. Europe is a great example. So Europe, in a market, we are an electronic money institution, so we don't require a bank at all. We actually process payment directly through our gateway and connectivity. So we don't need a bank to collect, disburse any of these aspects. So one of the key aspects which increases the cost of payments is compliance. So we've automated a lot out of it. We verify and check every transaction through 200 different databases to ensure that it's not a terrorist, it's not like a PEP who's trying to launder money, or there are no layering in the transactions, etc. And once we receive the transaction, we've got direct connectivity with banks with multiple markets where we actually own the pipe. And we actually own the pipe of pushing the payments directly into each of these markets. And it's a completely scalable solution. So today, if you want to do 4 markets, you do 4 markets. If you want to do 40 markets, it's the same API, it's the same interface, all of those aspects. So 2 things which really help. So somebody like a Fernando who comes from Brazil and he wants to scale, we provide him a quicker go-to-market. And all of this is actually powered through the Xcurrent 3.4, through which we are, in a way, connected, right? So I think we've got a minute left. I would ideally want to push it out for questions. Hopefully you'll have some interesting questions you can ask us. We've got one hand. Thank you.
If possible, I would like for you to give us a description of your customer evolution over time from the beginning of your company.
Sure.
And if possible, if you can talk in terms of like classes, class A, B, C.
No, perfect. I think great question. So from our perspective, right, remittance, the biggest challenge in remittance is trust, right? So original transactions, and Mike, who's my co-founder, is also a compliance head, and he'll hate me saying for this. I used to go on Facebook groups and say that, hey, I've set up a remittance company. We are the lowest cost and we're the fastest to provide a service. Why don't you come and test? And he used to say, hey, that's non-compliant. But I'll keep him aside. He'll be screaming at me later. But I think the key aspect what we saw is the customer was ready to test. Because he used to come to the website and he used to see, oh, this looks like a great rate. And then automatically he used to make a transaction of $100, which we used to do it in a few minutes. And then he used to come back and say that, oh, wow, this is great. Why don't I kind of send $2,000? So a lot of our first adoption customers, we saw that they send micro transactions and then they powered it with a larger transaction. So one of our great strengths is the fact that our average ticket size is roughly about 3,000 US across the globe, which puts us much higher than, so to give you a number, like a Western Union will be $300 to $400. We are roughly on the higher spectrum of about $3,000. Anything different in Brazil?
No, actually, that's it.
We're going to get kicked off because we run out of
Yes,
time.
we are going, but just so we solved the small problem, and then the client brings you the big problem. That's how we are getting business to work with us very strong.
Sorry, if you have any questions, we are around. Just feel free to. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.